Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. This is going to be video 2 in our Ruger Precision series. The series is going to be about taking a factory rifle. We're not going to do any mods to the rifle, we're going to do the mods on the ammo. This workup will work with any rifle you have. This is just this is the rifle I'm going to use. My ultimate goal is to take the rifle here, factory, and use it in this coming year's precision rifle series that we have in our area. There's some good shooters there. They shoot $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 rifles. I want to use just a factory rifle and see what I can get out of it. In order for me to do that, I need to get my groups down. In video 1, we took the rifle out. We shot a few groups on camera. I ended up by shooting 3 boxes of ammo. It was Hornady factory 140 grain AMAX bullets. The AMAX bullets shoot good out of this. They're pretty close to match ammo, if not match ammo. And what I got out of it was around an inch. One group measured .95, the other was .87. I ended up by shooting 60 rounds that day, and the accuracy was right around that throughout the day. So instead of messing with the barrel and the trigger and all the other stuff you could do to increase accuracy, I want to do a load workup on camera from start to finish. You can do this with any rifle. This is the same process I would do on any other gun. And see if we can get the groups down to one of these dots, or a half minute of angle at 100 yards. These are half-inch dots here. This is a sniper's hide dot drill. They have these printable targets on their website if you want any. It's mostly all I use. You can get a lot out of even one little piece of paper here, so it gives you a lot of dots. And so that's what we're going to do. The first bullets we're going to work with are going to be 140 grain ELD match bullets. I ended up by picking up 500 of these, and that's what we're going to start with. And powder, we're going to start with Hodgdon H4350. That's the most popular powder for the 6.5 Creedmoor, and so that's what we're going to work with. Today, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, if you don't have a Hornady case gauge length thing there to measure your internals to see how far your lands are from the bullet tip, I'll show you how to make one. And what lands are, if you don't know, is inside the gun here. Down the barrel there's rifling. When you put the bullet in, the bullet sits up against the chamber itself. The bullet has room to play with before it hits the lands. The lands are when it begins to spiral. The bullet spirals down the barrel, and the spiral gives it its twist as it launches from the barrel. The spiral keeps it flying true. That gap between where the chamber, where your brass butts up against your chamber, to where the bullet tip meets the lands, that's called jump. The closer you are to the lands, typically the more accurate. 5,000s, 10,000s off the lands is a good starting point. But once again, I mean, do all this at your own risk. Every gun's different. You need to measure the lands, the chamber, to get a good idea of what the insides of your gun's going to look like, unless you have like a camera to stick down the barrel. And once you get the lands, that's what we're going to work with. You can do that a couple different ways. I don't want to start doing the load work up on the bullet and then start messing with the lands, because messing with the bullet seating, sticking it out further or shorter, is going to mess with pressure in the brass itself. The further the bullet is out, the higher the pressure is going to be. And a good way to look at that is if you take a brick and you set a brick on a glass coffee table, the brick's probably not going to break through the coffee table. But if you lift it up 6 inches and drop it, you still may get lucky and not break the glass. But if you lift it up to 5 feet and drop it, there's a good chance that that's going to blow right through the table. And the reason for that is the powder's inside the bullet. The farther it is from the lands, the less of the bullet is sticking inside of the brass. It gives it more gap, more air capacity, and as the powder explodes, that's what creates your pressure. So I want to pick a good starting point for the length, and then we're going to do the load workup. That way I can see when I start getting close to pressure signs, I can back off. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take the 60 rounds we shot the other day. That brass has been fire formed to this chamber. What fire forming means either you resize the brass full length sizing and you get it back to semi spec, which that means it'll fit in any rifle. So if you got, your buddy's got a 6.5 Creedmoor and you load with a full-length sizer, and you size the brass to SAAMI specs, that brass will fit, that bullet will fit in any 6.5 rifle. Fireforming means you take a piece of brass, at one time it was factory, or one time you full-length sized it, you put a bullet in it, load it into the chamber, you shoot it, the explosion makes the brass grow. There may be a little bit of space, I mean millimeters, even smaller than that, thousandths or 10,000ths. But when the bullet explodes, the brass expands in the neck. It has nowhere to go wide, so the brass lengthens. That's why you got to trim your brass. And when that explodes this way, it fits perfectly to the chamber, and it's basically a custom round for the gun. So the brass is fire formed. We're just gonna neck size the brass, and we're gonna begin the load process in the next series. So today, sizing or cleaning the brass and figuring out our chamber size. Now we're going to move on to getting the right length for our overall bullet. We want that to be close to the lands. There's a couple different ways to do this. You can buy the Hornady Lock and Load overall case gauge length tool. They're about $30, $35. And what it does is you basically feed it in through the rear. It's got a long little pole. You slide the pole in, and then the pole's hooked to the bullet. Once the bullet hits the lands, you tighten the nut in the rear, and the whole case comes out on the stick. And then it's basically set to the overall length. You take a pair of calipers, measure the overall length of the bullet, and that'll give you your case overall length. And you have to do this a few times to get an average. I don't have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make my own. I like this way a lot better. There are a couple different ways to do this. You can either put a bullet on top. You can keep seating it. Seat it long, and then try to put it in the chamber, close the bolt. If the bolt doesn't close, you know it's too long, take it out, put it back in the press, run the ram again, take a little more off, until you get to the point where the bolt just barely closes. You can write that down. You know you're probably at the lands. Move it down just a hair. I mean, you're dropping it like 3/1000ths, 5/1000ths of an inch. If you got a micrometer seating die, it's a lot easier. And once you get to the point where the bolt just barely closes, that's how you know where your lands are at. Another way to do it is this way. I'm not the first one to do this. I like this way better. You just need a couple tools. We need some work gloves. We need a Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel. We need an old piece of brass, and we need the bullets that we're going to use. So if we're going to use Hornady ELDs, the bullets we got to use are Hornady ELDs when we get our measurement. You can't use a Hornady bullet, get an overall length, and then switch to Berger or anything, Nosler, and then try to seat the bullet or reload your bullet the same length and try to close the bolt again, because it might not close. The dimensions of the bullet themselves are different. Some are longer, some are wider, some are narrower. So you need to stick with the bullet you're going to use, and if you're going to switch bullets, you need to resize the chamber and get an overall length again. So we need glasses, brass, a bullet, some gloves. Let's put our glasses on first. A pair of gloves. Oh, and we need a drill. What we're going to do with the drill is we're going to drill out the flash hole. And the reason for this is just so that we don't get mixed up and load this or do something stupid. So we're going to run this through. Alright, we are through. Okay, so our flash hole is drilled out. That's so we don't mess up. You can even go bigger if you want. But I always clean my primers and everything before I reload anything. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a Dremel and we're going to cut slits in the sides of the bullet here. And what that's going to do is we're going to be able to take the bullet and press the ends together with just enough force that we can seat the bullet, slide it into the chamber, close the bolt, and as we pull it back out, as the bullet comes back out, it stays together with enough force. You can do this with 2 slits or with 4 slits. We're going to do 2 to begin with, so here we go. Alright, here's one slit. And what we're going to do is cut one on the other side. Try to line them up so they're even. Make sure you wear glasses. I just got sprayed right in the face. Good thing I had my glasses on. So this is what we got as two end pieces, as you can see. And we can take this and push this together. Actually, I'm going to put 4 in there. I'm going to put 2 more in here. Alright, now this is what it looks like. Focus, camera. So what we can do now is we can take the bullet, we can squeeze these in, and we can manipulate them. And then we can take the bullet, put the bullet in the end here, and it's going to hold itself. And as we seat this into the bullet, this bullet here is going to touch the lands, and we're going to close the bolt behind it, and it's going to slide itself in until it gets perfect, and then we're going to close the bolt. When we close the bolt, we pull it out. Now we have an overall length for our bullet, and we can do this a few times just to get measurements, just to make sure our measurements are accurate. If you have any burrs on here, you can just take a file and just clean it up a little bit. And once you have this drilled out, I mean, you can use it if you want to switch bullets from one. If we're going to go from Hornady to a different ammo, all you do is just take the bullet head off, put a different bullet head on, and you can use this same prop. This one's right around 2.820. So the more you do it, the more of an average you get. And you can get even more precise. So I'm going to go, I know roughly what this is already. I'm going to start my load work up at 2.815. The average I've been getting was right around 2.820. Alright, what we have here is our 60 pieces of spent brass. We have the Lee, what I'm going to use is the Lee Precision 4-die set. Specifically what I like to use is the neck size and die. When you're cleaning, I'm going to wet tumble these. When you're cleaning bottleneck cases, you want to take the primers out, because it's like basically putting your thumb over the end of a straw after you stick it in water. If you don't release the air, it's hard to get the water out. If you pop the primer out, it'll break that seal and the water will come out easy. So whenever if I'm doing pistol rounds, it doesn't matter. But if I'm doing rifle rounds, a bottleneck casing, I always pop the primers out before I put them into the cleaner. So I got this 4-die set here. Specifically, if you don't have this, you could use a full-length sizer. Just don't slam it all the way in, or even extend the decapper in your full-length sizer, just so it knocks the primer out and not size the brass. So I'm just going to spin this down, and I don't even want to go all the way down. I don't have to. I just want to go far enough that it's going to hit the primer. So right here I'm making contact. there goes my primer. And I'm going to run through ten of these on camera, and then I'll finish the rest off camera, and then we'll get them into the tumbler. That just makes sure that the water drains out. I don't want to do anything to the bodies or anything like that. I'm not sizing them. I'm just because the wet tumble really does a good job on the primer or the flash hole in the primer pocket, and it saves me an extra step of having to go through all these. Alright, so there's 10. We're all done with this. Alright, we're going to get this ready to wet tumble. This is hot water and basically just a rock tumbler, and I'll show you the tumbler after. What I use, Let Me Shine. This stuff is pretty amazing. It's a detergent for basically cleaning spot and film off dishes. I bought it at a local Ace store, and if you can get your hands on this stuff, it works good. There's some other stuff too that's similar. Like Cascade, I think even works well, and Dawn dish soap. Those are your two main ingredients. I also have some stainless steel pins. If you don't have pins, go to your local Dick's Sporting Goods, or locally we have a Dick's Sporting Goods, and I buy BBs, and BBs work pretty good too. I've always used BBs. I recently got the stainless steel pins. Either way, they work good. So hot water, we're going to dump our pins in. And then I got a tablespoon here. I do 2 tablespoons, or 1 tablespoon of Dawn dish soap. And then I do 2 of these. And these things come out like brand new, and I'll show you before and after. 1, and you don't have to be perfect, it doesn't really matter. 2 of these. Now take a look at these. These are before, kind of crummy looking. Look at the necks. I don't know how good the light is in here. They're crap. The flash holes are terrible. So we're going to dump these into here, and then so that's that. We're just going to close this lid up, and we'll get her tumbling. Alright guys, this is about 2 hours later. As you can see, it looks like we got a pot of gold here. Come out pretty good. Look at the primer pockets. That'll save us a step. So what we're going to do is just separate. Of course my camera's not going to focus. We're going to separate the media, the pins on this piece here, and then I have a dehydrator, which I use for drying the brass. They are clean, boys and girls. If anybody's interested in what these media pins are, actually I forgot a piece of brass in there. They work amazing. You'd be surprised how good BBs work. The problem with BBs though is they don't fit in the primer pocket. These pins work perfect. And they're from a company called Gun Tap, stainless steel tumbling media. Here's the size, 2.55 and then 0.47. And these pins are so small. I bought a few pounds of these. This is a 1 pound bag, and I bought a few pounds of these, and you really never lose them. The only issue I have is trying to separate them from the brass, which is kind of a pain. Typically I do 50 to 100 pieces of brass at a time. If I'm going to do pistol or something like that in mass quantity, I'll do them in the dry tumble. But wet tumble for my bolt actions, they come out like brand new. So this thing here works perfect. I got different layers, so I separate. It's just a meat dehydrator or fruit or whatever you want. Actually, companies are starting to use dehydrators for reloading. I've been using this for a couple of years now, and I mean, I picked this up at a lawn sale a few years back, and it works great. Like I said, it's got different layers, so I can separate the brass, and it circulates the air well. So we're just going to drop these into here. We'll get these dried up, and then the next step will begin our load workup. So hopefully the boring part's out of the way. We can get to the fun stuff now. So there's our brass, and she's good to go. Hopefully we can get this started possibly tomorrow. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you're seeing, hit the like button or share or subscribe. It helps out a lot. Kind of new to YouTube here, and I enjoy the editing part, which is kind of rare because I'm not big with computers. But if you guys like what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, I got a lot more to come, and hopefully somebody's there to watch it on the other end. So thanks, guys, for watching.